The Galactic Council's deep space monitoring station floated silently in the void, its crystalline hull reflecting the distant stars. Inside, hundreds of beings from dozens of species worked at their posts, maintaining watch over the galaxies. Most dangerous sectors, the station's main control room buzzed with quiet activity as sensors swept across forbidden zones and quarantine boundaries. Operator. Veltar had been staring at the same sector map for 6 hours straight. His forearms moved gracefully across the holographic controls, each appendage handling different monitoring systems with practiced ease. The Sol sector had been marked in angry red for over 50 years now, a warning beacon that kept all civilized ships away from the nightmare that lurked within. That's when the anomaly appeared, at first. It was just a flicker on the edge of his sensors. Veltar blinked his large, dark eyes and leaned closer to the display. The reading couldn't be right. Nothing was supposed to be in that sector except for the quarantined Deathworld and its savage inhabitants. The signal pulsed again, stronger this time. Veltar's breathing quickened as he recognized the pattern. A distress beacon. Someone was trapped in the forbidden zone. Commander Nixal, Veltar called out, his voice cracking slightly. His forearms began trembling as the implications hit him. We have a major situation here. Commander Nixal glided across the control room on his anti-gravity platform, his serpentine body coiled with tension. As a Vorthok, he had lived through 3 centuries of galactic peace, but his species remembered the old wars. The deep scars along his scaled hide told stories of battles fought long before humans were discovered. What is it, operator? Nixal's voice carried the authority of someone who had seen too much death in his lifetime. Veltar's hands shook as he pulled up the sensor data. Sir? We're detecting a Class 5 distress beacon from inside the Sol quarantine zone. The signal is weak, but definitely artificial. Nixal's 3 eyes widened in shock. That's impossible. No civilized vessel has entered that sector in decades. Run a full diagnostic on your equipment. Already done, sir. The signal is real. Veltar's voice dropped to a whisper. It's coming from coordinates that put it inside the gravity well of the Deathworld itself. A cold silence fell over the nearby workstations as other operators heard the news. The Sol system had been quarantined after first contact with humanity. 47 years ago, the initial exploration team had barely escaped with their lives, bringing back horror stories of a world so hostile that its inhabitants had evolved into living weapons. Commander Nixal accessed the station's main database, his claws clicking against the holographic interface. The file that appeared made his blood run cold. The distress beacon belonged to the research vessel Harmony's Edge, a state-of-the-art science ship operated by the Cathara Peaceful Research Foundation. By the void, Nixal muttered. The Cathara. The Cathara were known throughout the galaxy as gentle scholars and philosophers. Their crystalline bodies could barely survive in anything stronger than a light breeze. Yet their scientific contributions had advanced galactic civilization by centuries. They were the last species that belonged anywhere near a death world. Sir, Veltar continued, his voice barely audible, according to the beacon's data stream. They've been conducting long-range observations of the human homeworld for the past 6 months. Something went wrong with their hyperdrive during their last sensor sweep. Nixal pulled up the Harmony's Edge S mission logs. Dr. Yolandra, one of the galaxy's most respected xenobiologists, had been leading a team of 12 researchers in what they called extreme distance behavioral analysis. They had been studying the humans from what they considered a safe range of several million kilometers. Apparently it hadn't been safe enough. Life support status? Nixal demanded. Veltar's fingers danced across his controls, pulling up the ship's automated distress data. 18 standard hours remaining, sir. Their main power core was damaged in the hyperdrive explosion. They're running on emergency backup systems only. In their current position? They're caught in the Deathworld's gravity well, sir. Their orbit is decaying rapidly. Even if their life support holds out, they'll crash into the planet's surface. Within 20 hours, Commander Nixal's breathing apparatus began clicking rapidly, a sign of extreme stress among his people. He had faced pirates, stellar phenomena, and even the dreaded Void Hunters during his long career. But this was different. This involved the humans. Every species in the galaxy knew the stories. Earth was a world where everything was designed to kill. The atmosphere was poison to most life forms. The gravity would crush a Cathera in seconds. And the radiation from their sun could fry electronic systems at impossible distances. But worst of all were the inhabitants themselves. Humans were apex predators that had somehow developed intelligence without losing their killer instincts. They were pack hunters with tool-making abilities that had turned their entire species into living weapons. The original contact team's reports described creatures that could survive in environments that would kill any civilized being instantly. Sir, Veltar's voice brought Nixel back to the present. What are your orders? Nixal stared at the tactical display showing the Sol system. The Harmony's edge appeared as a tiny blip, falling slowly toward the blue-green nightmare world. Below, he had sworn an oath to protect all civilized life in the galaxy. But this situation was unprecedented. Alert the Council immediately, he ordered. And dispatch the third rescue fleet to the edge of the Sol system. Maximum safe distance operations only. Sir, what about the restricted zone protocols? We'll maintain all safety boundaries, Nixel replied grimly. But we can't abandon the Cathara without at least attempting a rescue. Within 3 hours, the Council's most advanced rescue fleet had assembled at the edge of the Sol system. Captain Morix commanded the operation from his flagship Benevolent Dawn. It's a massive vessel equipped with the latest in galactic rescue technology. He was confident that their advanced tractor beams and emergency medical facilities could handle any situation. He was wrong. As the rescue fleet approached Earth's outer solar system, every alarm on every ship began screaming at once. The radiation levels were beyond anything in their databases. The star that the humans called Sol was pumping out energy that should have sterilized any world within 100 million kilometers. This is impossible, shouted Navigator Kilthus. From his station, how is there any life in this system at all? Captain Morix studied the sensor readings with growing horror. The radiation alone would kill most galactic species within minutes. The gravitational forces were crushing. The space around Earth was filled with debris that moved at velocities that could punch through their strongest shields. Captain, his communications officer reported, we're receiving automated warnings from the Harmony's edge. Their shields are failing. The radiation is overwhelming their systems. 2 of the rescue ships suffered critical system failures just from getting within a few million kilometers of Earth's orbit. Their crews watched helplessly as the Cathara vessel continued its death spiral toward the planet below. All ships maintain distance, Morix ordered reluctantly. We can't help them if we're destroyed ourselves. The failure of the rescue mission sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. In the Great Assembly Chamber on Nexus Prime, representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered in emergency session. The debate raged for hours as species after species offered solutions that everyone knew wouldn't work. The Cathara were dying, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. Finally, Ambassador Thexera of the Diplomatic Corps stood up on her many legs. Her voice carried across the silent chamber as she spoke the words that everyone had been thinking but no one dared say. Honored colleagues, we have exhausted all Condenteo on AL options. There is only one force in the galaxy that might be capable of operating in such hostile conditions. She paused, her tentacles writhing with nervous energy. We have to contact the humans. The chamber erupted in panic as the true magnitude of their situation became clear. They would have to break the quarantine and make contact with the most dangerous species in known space. Ambassador Dexera had faced down pirates, negotiated with hostile alien empires, and survived 3 different assassination attempts during her long diplomatic career, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. Her 8 tentacles trembled uncontrollably as she approached the communications console in the Council's most secure transmission chamber. The room itself was a marvel of galactic engineering, its walls lined with quantum resonance amplifiers that could punch a signal through to any corner of known space. Today it would carry the most dangerous message in galactic history directly into the heart of the quarantine zone. Are you certain about this? Asked Counselor Vexton, his crystalline form flickering with nervous energy. Once we break the communication embargo, there's no going back. Vexera's main tentacles wrapped around the control interfaces, while her smaller appendages fine-tuned the transmission frequencies. The Cathara have less than 16 hours left. We've run out of alternatives. The communication array hummed to life, its massive dish arrays rotating to focus on the distant Sol system. The chamber filled with a low, harmonic vibration as the quantum transmitters powered up to maximum range. Every being in the room could feel the energy building, a tangible reminder of the historic moment they were about to witness. Transmission. Ready, announced Technician Mortal from his position at the sensor station. All frequencies are clear for broadcast. Dexera took what might have been her last breath as a free being. The stories about humans were terrifying enough when they were safely contained behind their quarantine barrier. But now, she was about to invite them out. Unknown Earth entities, she began, her voice carefully controlled despite her terror. The universal translator struggled with the transmission, cycling through dozens of primitive language patterns that their xenolinguistics department had theorized the humans might use. This is Ambassador Thixara of the Galactic Council. Require immediate assistance with a rescue operation. One of our vessels is trapped in your star system, and the response came so fast that it cut off her prepared speech. This is Admiral Day 1 of the Terran Defense Force. The voice came through in perfect, unaccented galactic standard. The clarity was so crisp it sounded like the speaker was in the same room. We have been monitoring your rescue attempts for the past 6 hours. The Cathara research vessel Harmony's Edge has approximately 15 hours and 43 minutes of life support remaining. The transmission chamber fell into shocked silence. Every being present stared at the communication console as if it had just sprouted weapons. The implications of what they had just heard sent waves of panic through the assembled diplomats. You speak our language? Thixara managed to whisper, her voice barely audible above the humming of the equipment. Ambassador Thixara, Admiral Day 1 replied, and something in his tone suggested he was reading from detailed files, pointed to the Council's diplomatic corps 43 years ago. Specialist in First Contact Protocols, veteran of the Andromedian Peace Accords. We have been monitoring all galactic communications since our first contact with your exploration vessel in 2978. Your language was not difficult to learn. Counselor Vexton's crystalline body began flickering rapidly, a sign of extreme distress. Among his people, how long have you been listening to our transmissions? Since the day you declared our world quarantined and withdrew your survey teams. 47 years, 2 months, and 16 days to be precise. The casual way the human delivered this information made it even more terrifying. They'd been watching, learning, preparing for nearly half a century while the galaxy believed them to be primitive savages trapped on their death world. Our home fleet is already mobilizing, Admiral Day 1 continued. We estimate 12 hours to reach the Harmony's Edge and complete rescue operations. All 13 crew members will be recovered safely. Wait, Thixara stammered, her diplomatic training finally kicking in despite her shock. We must establish proper protocols for this operation. There are safety measures to consider, territorial boundaries to respect, an ambassador. The human's voice cut through her words with, Quiet authority, Dr. Yolandra is currently suffering from acute radiation poisoning. Her assistant, Dr. Nevayan, has a fractured carapace from their emergency decompression. 2 other crew members are in critical condition. Every minute we spend on protocols is a minute closer to their deaths. The cold clinical precision with which the human listed the Cathara crew's injuries sent chills through everyone present. How could they possibly know such detailed information about the condition of beings trapped millions of kilometers away? The discussion is over, Admiral. Dewan concluded. Our ships are launching now. Out. The transmission cut to static, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. The first official contact between humanity and the galactic community had lasted less than 3 minutes, and it had shattered every assumption they held about the quarantined species. Within minutes, emergency alerts were flooding communication networks across the galaxy. The news spread like wildfire through every civilized system. The humans were coming out. Council military commands scrambled to establish defensive perimeters, while xenobiologists frantically pulled every scrap of data They had about human capabilities at the Deep Space Monitoring Station. Scanner technician Kilvex watched his instruments with growing horror as massive energy signatures began moving within the Sol system. "Commander Nixel," he called out, his voice cracking with strain. "You need to see this immediately." At the readings on his screens defied everything they knew about spacecraft engineering. The energy outputs were beyond anything in their databases, suggesting vessels of impossible size and power. "How many ships are they launching?" Nixal demanded. "Sir, I'm reading 47 distinct signatures. The largest ones are..." Kilvex paused, running the calculations 3 times to make sure they were correct. "Sir, the largest signatures are indicating vessels over 2 kilometers in length." Meanwhile, deep within Earth's orbital defense network, Admiral Day 1 stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship. The Indomitable stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its dark hulls scarred from decades of surviving in Earth's hostile space environment. Around him, his crew prepared for humanity's first rescue mission beyond their home system. Captain Hajin looked up from her tactical station, her fingers dancing across holographic displays that showed the positions of every human vessel in the Sol system. "Admiral, all 47 ships of the home fleet are reporting ready status. The dreadnought squadrons are in perfect formation. Communications are clear across all channels," added Lieutenant Tejo from his position at the communications array. Captain Minho, aboard the Dauntless, confirms his squadron is ready for immediate deployment. Admiral Daywan nodded as he studied the tactical display showing the failing Cathera vessel. His weathered face showed the calm determination of someone who had spent decades preparing for this exact moment. "Signal all ships," he commanded. "Begin launch sequence." His voice carried across the communication networks connecting every vessel in the home fleet, from the massive dreadnoughts to the swift destroyers. 47 warships received the same message simultaneously. "This is Admiral Day 1 to all. Vessels of the home fleet. Today marks a historic moment for humanity. We answer our first distress call from the galactic community. We go not as conquerors seeking to dominate, but as rescuers seeking to save lives. The galaxy has watched us from afar for nearly 50 years, fearing what we might become. Today we show them who we truly are." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across the home fleet, engines that had been designed to push through solar storms and gravitational anomalies roared to life. The combined energy output of 47 human warships lit up space sensors across 3 star systems. The Indomitable led the charge, its massive bulk accelerating with surprising grace as it cleared Earth's orbital platforms. Behind it came the dreadnoughts, dauntless, resilient, unbreakable, and defiant. Each one was a fortress in space, armed with weapons designed to fight the universe itself. But it was the smaller ships that truly demonstrated human engineering philosophy. The destroyers and cruisers moved through Earth's debris-filled orbit like dancers, avoiding massive chunks of space rock that would have destroyed lesser vessels. They had been born in this chaos, shaped by the constant battle against their own hostile environment. As the home fleet cleared Earth's gravity well and formed up for their journey to the Harmony's edge, sensors across the galaxy registered energy signatures that redefined what was considered possible in spacecraft design. The humans were coming, and nothing would ever be the same. The destroyer Sol's pride broke free from Earth's gravity well first.
Ow.
Its sleek 400-meter hull cutting through space like a sword through silk. Captain Janah stood on her bridge, watching the tactical displays as her ship led humanity's first journey beyond their home system in over 4 decades. "All systems green," reported her tactical officer. "We're clear of the orbital defense grid." Captain Jinnah nodded, her eyes fixed on the distant blip that represented the dying Cathera vessel. "Signal the Admiral. Sol's pride is ready to lead the formation." What the Council observers didn't understand was that the Sol's Pride was considered a small ship by human standards. It had been designed as a fast attack vessel, built to hunt pirates and raiders in the asteroid belts around Mars. Its armor was scarred from countless encounters with space debris traveling at impossible speeds. Its weapons had been tested against the fury of solar flares at the Deep Space Monitoring Station. Scanner technician Kilvex felt his 3 hearts Skip a beat as his instruments registered the destroyer's true power output. The energy readings were off the charts, showing reactor technology that shouldn't have been possible for a species the Council considered primitive. "Commander Nixel," he whispered, his voice filled with awe and terror, "the energy signature from that single vessel is equivalent to our entire third battle fleet." But the Soul's Pride was just the beginning. Behind her came the cruisers. Their 800-meter hulls bristling with sensor arrays and defensive systems. The Bison's Might, Inchin's Thunder, and Jeju's Storm moved in perfect formation. There, engines leaving trails of blue fire against the darkness of space. Each cruiser carried enough firepower to level a small moon, yet they moved with the grace of creatures born to swim through the void. Captain Soyoung commanded the Bison's Might from her battle bridge, a reinforced chamber deep within the ship's armored core. Her vessel had been designed to operate in the radiation-soaked space around Jupiter, where the giant planet's magnetic field could fry electronics and cook crew members in seconds. "Radiation levels are climbing," her science officer reported. "We're approaching the edge of Sol's active storm zone." "Maintain course," Captain Soyoung ordered calmly. "Our shields were built for this." The battleships came next, massive kilometer-long vessels that had never been intended to leave the Sol system. The Gangwon's Fury, Zhongyi's Wrath, and Gaolanum's Vengeance had been constructed in the orbital shipyards above Earth, their hulls forged from metals that could only be found in the asteroid belt. Each battleship carried a crew of 3,000 and enough weapons to sterilize a planet. But it was when the dreadnoughts merged that the watching galaxy truly understood what they were facing. The Dauntless appeared first, a kilometon and a half, length seeming to blot out the stars themselves. Captain Minho had commanded her for 15 years. Through solar storms that would have torn apart any Azort, Council, vessel, and asteroid impacts that had left craters in her armored hull, the ship's weapons weren't designed to fight other spacecraft. They were built to crack asteroids, deflect comets, and survive the hellish environment of humanity's home system. Captain Minho, 2 Fleet Command, his voice carried across the communication networks. "Dreadnought Squadron Alpha is in formation and ready for combat operations." The Resilient and Unbreakable followed. It's their dark hulls, showing the scars of decades spent defending Earth from the universe's fury. Each dreadnought was a self-contained fortress, capable of operating independently for years at a time. Their crews had been born and raised in space. Generations of humans who had never set foot on a planet's surface, but when the flagship Indomitable finally cleared Earth's orbit, every sensor in 3 star systems registered her presence nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. The Indomitable was more than a warship. She was a statement. Her hull had been built from the remains of asteroids that had threatened Earth, her armor forged in the fires of solar flares, her weapons tested against the worst that space could throw at them. Admiral Day 1 stood on her command bridge, a cathedral of technology that stretched across 3 levels. Around him, 200 crew members worked at stations that could control the destiny of star systems. The bridge's main view screen showed the tactical situation with the failing Cathara vessel highlighted in red as it spiraled toward Earth's atmosphere. Admiral Captain Haijin reported from her position at the tactical station. "We're receiving emergency transmissions from 17 different Council fleets. They're demanding that we maintain a safe distance and submit to inspection protocols." Admiral Day 1 studied the tactical display showing the positions of Council ships. Scattered across the outer reaches of the Sol system, 300 vessels had gathered to watch humanity's first emergence from quarantine. But they were keeping their distance like scavengers, afraid to approach a sleeping predator. "How far back are they staying?" he asked. "Minimum range is 50 million kilometers, sir." "Most are maintaining twice that distance." A grim smile crossed Admiral Daywan's weathered face. "Then let's show them what we consider a safe distance." What happened next would be talked about in council chambers for generations to come. A massive solar storm had been building for hours. The kind of cosmic fury that would send any sane species running for the safety of deep space. Radiation levels spiked to lethal intensity as charged particles streamed out from Sol at nearly the speed of light. The council fleets fled in panic. their crews screaming warnings as their radiation detectors went off the scale. Ships that had been built to operate in the gentle environment of civilized space simply couldn't handle the raw power of an active star. But the human fleet didn't even slow down. The Indomitable led the charge directly into the heart of the storm, her shields flaring brilliant blue as they deflected energies that would have vaporized entire Council squadrons. Behind her, 46 other human vessels followed without hesitation, their hulls glowing with absorbed radiation as they pushed deeper into conditions that no other species would dare to face. All ships reporting green status, Captain Hyjin announced, her voice steady, despite the incredible forces battering their fleet. Environmental systems are operating within normal parameters. Commander Nixel watched from his observation post 60 million kilometers away, his breathing apparatus clicking frantically as he tried to process what he was seeing. "This is impossible," he muttered. "No ship can survive that level of radiation. No crew should be able to function in those conditions." But to the humans, this was just another day in their neighborhood. They had been born in this crucible, their technology shaped by 47 years of isolation in one of the galaxy's most hostile star systems. What seemed impossible to other species was simply normal operating procedure for them. The solar storm that had scattered 300 Council ships barely registered on human sensors. Their reactors had been designed to draw power from similar storms. Their hulls had been forged to withstand the constant bombardment of high-energy particles. Their crews had grown up in an environment where radiation exposure was a daily concern. "Target acquired," announced Tactical Officer Jamin from his station aboard the Indomitable. Cathara vessel bearing 27 Mark IV, range decreasing. Rapidly, they're definitely caught in Earth's gravity well. Admiral Daewon nodded grimly. The Harmony's edge appeared on the main view screen, a tiny speck of metal falling toward the blue-green world below. At their current rate of descent, the research vessel would impact Earth's atmosphere within hours. "Signal all ships," Admiral Daewon commanded. "Form rescue formation around the target. Remember, people, these are the first aliens we've ever met face to face. Let's show them what humanity is really made of." The home fleet moved with precision that defied their massive size. Ships that weighed millions of tons danced through Earth's orbital debris field like fighters, avoiding chunks of space rock that would have crushed lighter vessels. They had been born in this chaos, trained in the harshest environment the galaxy had to offer. As 47 human warships took position around the failing alien vessel, the watching galaxy realized that everything they thought they knew about the species from the Death World had been wrong. The humans weren't primitive savages trapped on a hostile planet. They were apex predators who had turned their entire star system into a training ground, forging themselves into something the galaxy had never seen before, and now they were coming to the rescue. The research vessel, Harmony's Edge, spun wildly through Earth's upper atmosphere, its crystalline hull glowing cherry red from the intense friction. What had once been a state-of-the-art scientific vessel was now a burning coffin falling toward the surface of humanity's death world. Dr. Yolanda pressed her delicate crystalline hands against the control console, trying to steady herself as the ship bucked and rolled. Around her, the bridge was a chaos of sparking electronics and failing systems. Her team of 12 researchers clung to whatever they could find as their ship died around them. "Hull integrity down to 30%, Dr. Naveen reported, his voice crackling through the failing communication system. His usually pristine crystal body was cracked in several places from the earlier explosion, and blue fluid leaked from his wounds. Internal temperature rising faster than our cooling systems can handle." The ship's main view screen flickered between static and terrifying images of Earth's surface, rushing toward them. The planet below looked like something from a nightmare, its swirling clouds hiding a world that every civilized species feared. Even from this distance, the electromagnetic interference from Earth's magnetic field was wreaking havoc on their instruments. "How long do we have?" Dr. Yolanda asked, though she already knew the answer would be grim. At current rate of descent and hull degradation, "Perhaps 25 minutes before complete structural failure," Dr. Navayan replied. "The atmospheric friction is literally cooking our ship from the outside in." Suddenly, their dying communication system crackled to life with a voice that made every Cathara on the bridge freeze in terror. Kithara Vessel Harmony's Edge. This is Captain Hyjin of the Terran Defense Force warship Indomitable. We are beginning immediate rescue operations. Please prepare your crew for emergency extraction procedures. The voice was calm, professional, and utterly confident, spoke in perfect galactic standard, but there was something underneath it that spoke of predatory efficiency. This was the voice of a hunter who had found wounded prey. Dr. Yolandra's team looked at each other in panic. They had come to study the humans from what they thought was a safe distance. But now they were about to meet the Deathworlders face to face, through their failing viewports. The Kithara scientists witnessed something that defied everything they understood about space travel. Human ships were moving through Earth's deadly atmosphere as if it were their natural environment. The massive vessels showed no signs of distress from the radiation and atmospheric friction that was destroying the Harmony's Edge. The destroyer Soul's Pride dove through the upper atmosphere like a metal shark, its hull glowing with absorbed energy but showing no signs of damage. Behind it, the cruiser Bisons might maneuvered with impossible precision, avoiding debris fields that would have torn apart any council vessel. "How are they doing this?" whispered Dr. Telenara. "The expeditions. Atmospheric specialist. The radiation levels alone should be frying their electronics." From the dreadnought Dauntless, Captain Minho's voice carried across the rescue frequency. "All units remember that we're dealing with silicon-based life forms. Their physiology is completely different from ours. Environmental suits are mandatory, and handle them like they're made of spun glass." The rescue pods that launched from the human ships were unlike anything in the Kithara's databases. Each pod was a miniature spacecraft, heavily armored and equipped with its own life support systems. They moved through the chaotic atmospheric conditions with the confidence of vehicles. Designed for far worse environments, pilot Sujin guided her rescue pod toward the tumbling Harmony's Edge with the skill of someone who had trained in the asteroid belts of the outer system. Her pod's advanced stabilization systems automatically matched the research vessel's chaotic rotation, bringing her close enough to begin cutting operations. "Indomitable. This is Rescue Pod 7, she reported. "I have visual contact with the alien vessel. Beginning hull breach procedures now." The cutting tools that emerged from Sujin's pod were designed to slice through the armored hulls of human warships. The Kithara vessel's crystalline structure offered little resistance as she carefully carved an opening large enough for extraction operations. Inside the Harmony's Edge, the Kithara crew felt the ship shudder as the human cutting tools went to work. Dr. Yolandra watched in fascination as a perfectly circular section of their hull simply vanished, revealing the dark interior of the rescue pod beyond. The first human to enter their ship was rescue specialist Dong Min, cased in a powered exoskeleton that looked more like a walking tank than a rescue suit. The armor was scarred and pitted from years of operation in Earth's hostile environment, but it moved with surprising grace as he approached the terrified aliens. "Easy there," Dongmin said, his voice translated through the universal communicator built into his helmet.
We're here to help."
"My name is Dongmin, and I'm going to get you out of here safely." The Kithara had never seen anything like the human rescue equipment. Dongmin's exoskeleton was equipped with medical scanners, environmental processors, and emergency life support systems that could keep a dozen beings alive in the vacuum of space. Every piece of gear had been tested in conditions that would kill most galactic species instantly. Dr. Yolandra found herself being carefully lifted by another human, this one wearing the Red Cross symbol that indicated medical personnel. Through the helmet's faceplate, she could see a human female with kind eyes and a reassuring smile. "Hello there," said Dr. Yunji, the Indomitable's chief medical officer. "I know this is scary, but you're going to be fine. We're taking you somewhere safe." The rescue operation proceeded with a precision that spoke of countless hours of training. Human rescue specialists moved through the dying ship like ghosts, locating each Kithara crew member and carefully extracting them to the safety of the rescue pods. They worked with the calm efficiency of people who had faced far worse emergencies in their daily lives. "Rescue Pod 3 to Indomitable," reported another human voice. "I have 4 aliens secured and ready for transport. showing signs of radiation exposure, but nothing immediately life-threatening. The transfer to the human flagship was an experience that would haunt the Cathera survivors for the rest of their lives. The Indomitable's medical bay had been hastily reconfigured to accommodate alien physiology, with human doctors working frantically to adapt their equipment for silicon-based life forms. Dr. Yunji ran her medical scanners over Dr. Yolandra's crystalline form, her instruments adapting in real time to analyze completely alien biochemistry. The human medical technology was more advanced than anything the Galactic Council possessed, designed to treat injuries that could only occur on a death world. Fascinating, Dr. Yunji murmured as she worked. Your cellular structure is completely silicon-based, but the underlying principles are similar to carbon-based life. Our nanomedical systems are already adapting to your physiology. As the last Cathara was brought aboard the Indomitable, the Harmony's edge finally succumbed to the forces that had been tearing it apart. The research vessel broke apart in a brilliant fireball. It remained scattered across Earth's upper atmosphere like falling stars. The human fleet watched in respectful silence as the ship that had traveled so far to study them met its end. There was no celebration, no sense of victory, only the quiet satisfaction of lives saved and duty performed. All 13 survivors accounted for and receiving medical treatment. Captain Hai-Jin reported to Admiral Day 1. The aliens are stable and responding well to our care. Admiral Day 1 stood in the medical bay, watching as his crew tended to beings that no human had ever seen before. The Cathara were beautiful in their own way, their crystalline bodies, refracting light in patterns that created tiny rainbows in the air around them. Doctor, he said to Dr. Yunji, what's their condition? They'll make a full recovery, sir. Some radiation exposure and a few stress fractures from the decompression, but nothing our medical systems can't handle. They're remarkably resilient for such delicate-looking beings. Admiral Daewon nodded, then turned to Captain Hai-Jin. Signaled the fleet. Set course for the edge of the system, sir. Captain Hai-Jin looked puzzled. Shouldn't we return to Earth? Orbit. Admiral Daewon looked out at the stars beyond Earth's atmosphere, where 300 council ships waited in the darkness. No, Captain. I think it's time we had a proper conversation with our galactic neighbors. The rescue was complete, but for humanity. The real work was just beginning. The human home fleet held their position at the edge of the Sol system like a wall of steel and determination. 47 warships floated in perfect formation, their dark hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. For the first time in galactic history, the most powerful military force in known space waited patiently for diplomacy rather than demanding submission. Aboard the flagship Indomitable, Dr. Yolandra had made a remarkable recovery. The crystalline being moved carefully through the ship's medical bay, her body still showing stress fractures from the rescue, but her mind was sharp with curiosity. She had spent the last 3 days being treated by human doctors, and what she had seen challenged everything the galaxy believed about the Deathworld species. Admiral Day 1, she said as she entered the observation deck, where the human commander stood watching Earth in the distance. I must ask you something that has been troubling me since my rescue. Admiral Day 1 turned from the massive viewport, his weathered face showing the calm confidence of someone who had spent decades preparing for this moment. Of course, Doctor, what's on your mind? Dr. Yolandra gestured toward the medical equipment that had saved her life. Your medical technology is more advanced than anything the Galactic Council possesses. Our best hospitals cannot match what your ship's medical bay accomplished in treating 13 different alien physiologies simultaneously. How is this possible for a species we believed was primitive? Admiral Day 1 walked to the viewport and pointed toward the blue-green world that hung in space like a jewel. But Dr. Yolandra now knew that jewel was actually a death trap wrapped in beauty. Doctor, when you live on a world that tries to kill you every single day, you learn to fight. Back with everything you have? Our medicine wasn't developed to treat simple illnesses or minor injuries. It was created to save people from radiation poisoning that would kill most species in minutes. To repair bones crushed by gravity that would flatten a Kithara instantly, and to neutralize toxins that exist nowhere else in the galaxy. Dr. Yolandra listened in fascination as Admiral Daewon continued. Every human child grows up knowing that their world is trying to kill them. We have storms that generate lightning. With the power of fusion reactors, our oceans contain creatures that could bite through the hull of your research vessel. Even our plants can kill you just by touching them. But your weapons, Dr. Yolandra interrupted. They are designed for warfare on a scale that terrifies the Council. Surely you built them to conquer other worlds? Admiral Day One shook his head with a sad smile. Doctor, every ship in this fleet has been hit by asteroids traveling at speeds that would vaporize Council vessels. We've sailed through solar flares that could cook entire planets. Our weapons weren't designed to fight other species. They were built to fight the universe itself. He gestured toward the tactical display showing the positions of his fleet. The Dauntless over there? Her main guns were originally designed to deflect comets that threatened Earth. The Resilient has armor that was tested by flying directly into meteor showers. We didn't build these ships to be weapons of war. We built them to be tools of survival. Meanwhile, 300 million kilometers away, the Galactic Council was meeting an emergency session for the third time in as many days. The Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime had never seen such heated debates as representatives from hundreds of worlds tried to process the implications of humanity's emergence. Dr. Yolandra's testimony via subspace communication had shaken the foundation of everything they thought they knew about the quarantined species. Honored counselors, her voice carried across the vast chamber. I've spent 72 hours aboard a human warship, and I tell you now that every assumption we made about these beings was wrong. They saved 13 members of my research team without hesitation, using technology that makes our most advanced medical facilities look primitive. Ambassador Thixara studied the tactical readouts from the rescue operation, her tentacles writhing with nervous energy. The data is undeniable. Their single flagship could have destroyed our entire third fleet without taking damage. Instead, they used that incredible power to save lives. Counselor Vexton, crystalline form flickered with agitation. But what do we do now? They've demonstrated military capabilities that make our entire defense doctrine obsolete. A single human dreadnought has more firepower than most of our sector fleets. The chamber fell silent as Admiral Daywan's voice filled the space, transmitted directly from the bridge of the Indomitable. His words carried the weight of 47 years of isolation and preparation. Honorable counselors of the Galactic Council, humanity has been watching your civilization for nearly 5 decades. We've observed your struggles with the Void Hunters, studied your territorial disputes, and learned from your successes and failures. We've been ready to join the galactic community for decades. Counselor Vexton leaned forward in his floating chair. Then why didn't you make contact sooner? Why remain hidden when you possessed such advanced technology? Admiral Day One's response carried across space with quiet dignity. Because we believe in earning our place rather than taking it. By force, we could have emerged from our quarantine at any time and demanded recognition. Instead, we waited for an invitation, for a sign that we were wanted as allies, rather than feared as conquerors. The silence that followed was deafening. 300 Council ships had positioned themselves around the Sol system, ready to flee at the first sign of human aggression. Instead, they had witnessed the most powerful military force in the galaxy exercising restraint and compassion. Today, Admiral Day One continued, we've shown you who we truly are. We're not the monsters your stories made us out to be. We're not conquerors seeking to dominate the weak. We are protectors, forged by our world's fury and tempered by our own determination to survive. The implications of his words rippled through the council chambers like a shockwave. Humanity possessed the most advanced technology in known space, commanded fleets that could conquer entire sectors, and had chosen to remain isolated rather than impose their will on others. Counselor Mordash spoke up, his voice heavy with the weight of recent defeats. The Void Hunters have been pushing deeper into Council space every year. Our fleets have been losing ground steadily. If humanity were to join our defense efforts, we would honor our obligations as Council members, Admiral Day One replied. Immediately. But we join as equals, not as subjects or overlords. We've learned through bitter experience that strength without wisdom leads to destruction, and wisdom without compassion is worthless. Over the following weeks, the galaxy watched in amazement as humanity's first diplomatic mission began establishing embassies on 3 different council worlds. The Cathera became their strongest advocates, with Dr. Yolandra personally testifying to human character and capability before dozens of planetary governments. Trade agreements began almost immediately. Human technology, designed to operate in impossible conditions, revolutionized council engineering. Reactors that could function inside solar flares, hull materials that could withstand direct asteroid impacts, and medical systems that could treat any known form of life began flowing to council worlds. In return, humanity gained something they had been missing for nearly 50 years: connection to the wider galaxy. Art, literature, philosophy, philosophic knowledge from 1,000 different worlds flowed back to Earth, enriching human culture in ways that no one had imagined possible. But it was the military alliance that truly changed the balance of power in the galaxy. When the Void Hunters launched their next major offensive, expecting to face the same council fleets they had been defeating for years, they instead encountered something entirely new. Human dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace. Alongside council cruisers, their combined firepower overwhelming the Void Hunter invasion fleet in a matter of hours. The sight of the Indomitable emerging from the radiation cloud of a dying star to deliver the killing blow to the Void Hunter flagship became legend throughout the galaxy. Admiral Day One stood on his bridge, watching as human and alien crews celebrated their victory together. Captain Hajin approached with a communication pad, her face showing a mixture of pride and amazement. "We're receiving formal requests from 47 different species asking for military advisors, technology, sharing agreements, and defense partnerships." Admiral Daywan smiled as he looked out at the combined fleet of human and council ships. "Accept all reasonable requests, Captain. Humanity has always been at its best when we're helping others. But remember our principles. We share our strength to protect the innocent, never to dominate the weak." As the home fleet prepared for its next mission, now flying alongside ships from across the galaxy, Dr. Yolandra prepared her final report to the council. Her words would be studied for generations to come. The humans were never our enemies. They were our salvation, waiting patiently in their quarantine for us to become wise enough to accept their friendship. The galaxy is safer, stronger, and more united today because we finally found the courage to answer their call for peaceful contact. The Deathworlders had emerged not as the conquerors the galaxy feared, but as the guardians it desperately needed. Nothing would ever be the same again.